Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Ashley Hicks. How's it going, Ashley?
Going great.
And then we have Kyle Schrum. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing all right.
And Joe? He's not here. Oh, you guys are like, wait, he's not, but everyone else is listening. They can't see that Joe's not here. Yeah.
He already found a new PT in Maryland. So
yeah, he's at a physical therapy appointment. Truth be told, he had technical hardware breakage. So
issues.
Can't be on if we can't hear you. So yeah, he will be back. He has a broken mic. I see it in his updates. I'm updating it for him. I think he wanted me to say that. He didn't tell me. He has a broken microphone. So we're remedying that situation, but Amazon Prime is just not what it used to be. It's taken longer.
Thanks a lot, Rona.
Right. Right. All right, Ashley, how's life? Updates from you?
Life is pretty good, except I am injured, so I'll be the Joe of the group this week. I'm broken.
How did that happen?
So it's really weird. We were doing strict presses in women's health track, and it was 90% of your 1 rep max. And I was on my fourth one, and braced myself, breathed, and pushed up, and just felt a little twinge, like on the back of, like, kind of where my shoulder blade is, Anyways, something's up because it hurts and it's uncomfortable to sleep. So I got some BioFreeze and I still did yesterday's workout though, and I felt fine. It actually felt better. I don't know if it was just because I was stiff from sleeping all night long, and then all of a sudden I moved, and then it was great. So, and I've tried to been rolling it. I don't. It's not that big of a deal, but
I call that a tweak.
Yeah,
like that didn't feel right. Now I feel a little weird, and then you get back to normal.
It's a pre-injury.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if you keep pushing it, I will hurt you. I will make this debilitating.
I know. And I still went and did my handstand push-ups after too. So that could have aggravated it, but oh well. Yeah.
You got to stop. Once it happens, like I moved days around. Was it last week when because that was deload. I think it was the week before. It was like heavy squats. And I warmed up for like 15 minutes and my lower back still did not feel right. I don't know why. And I was like, not risking it. Nope, not going to squat. I switched with the pressing day or something, and then I just squatted later in the week, and my back felt fine. But that's how cautious I am with injuring myself.
It's a good thing. Well, yeah. And then I bought a leaf blower finally. Actually, Scott bought the leaf blower. It's like this crazy not electrical, it's a battery powered one. So
yes, battery powered is awesome.
That's what he wanted. So cleaning out the garage gym is pretty easy now. It's Good advice. We took your advice, Jared. It just took us a couple weeks.
You got to have a leaf blower.
Gotta love it.
So the battery-powered ones only do like a mild sweep. My dad has a gas-powered one, so I don't know in this one, but he's brought it over to my house before, and it will
epic.
Yeah, I mean it can get stains off the floor. It's kind of not really, but it's super powerful.
Is it one of those backpack ones?
No, not that crazy, but it looks like that same brand. I know what you're talking about, and but you don't really there's a lot of exhaust coming out of those things in your garage. I just don't feel like it's a good idea. I'm good with the electrical or the battery pack.
Batteries use electricity, right?
Yeah, but one's electrical corded and one is battery. So if you don't note the difference, because I actually have both. I have a battery one, and I have one that I have to use a 100-foot extension cord on. Not fun. And I don't have a gasoline powered one.
Mine's not in a garage. It's a basement. So I can't use a leaf blower.
He just mixes all around and settles back.
So mine's just a vacuum cleaner. So
you could do it with chalk. You could, just blow the chalk around. at least look better. Won't actually
There you
go
go.
anywhere.
That's it. That's my strategy now.
Yeah. All right, Ashley, anything else?
Well, just one last thing. Connor and I do a walk after every single, I've talked about my family walks, but Connor and I do a walk after every workout. It's kind of like my cool down. I make myself a post-workout smoothie and he gets to enjoy that. But now, since we go at the same time every day, even on my rest day today, like we played outside for an hour and then we went on our walk that we would normally do. So the same people are also walking at the same time. And so now, and they've asked, what's his name, whatever. So every morning he gets the hi Connor and he waves at stuff. He waves at like certain cars that pass by at the same time too. So people will stop and wave at us and we keep going on our walk. So he's
I'd be
famous.
Suspicious of all these people. Why do you want to know my son's name? Why do I see you at the same time every day? No, that's happening to me because I've pretty much moved my workout time to 12:30 every single day, minus the kids portion. But I open my garage at 12:30 because I'm about to start training, and the same couple is walking past. It's like Matrix style, like this every day. They're walking past my driveway as I open it. I'm like, you guys must start your walk, like, because they're not my neighbors. Not like they're walking out their door at 12:30. They have to start their walk at like 12:15 or 12, and they just happen to pass by my house every day at the same time. It's been blowing my mind lately.
That's there's something a little suspicious there.
Yeah. I think they want me to ask. Like, all right, you guys want to come in? You want to use the garage? Is that it? I didn't think about that till just now. Thanks, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Updates from you, man. How's life?
Life is good. Hannah and I actually broke the Rona rules, as I like to call them, just now. We have been
Did Tennessee
with
even like adhere to any rules from the beginning?
They have. I haven't, but they have. The state itself has. The state is opening back up, I think tomorrow, actually.
Same here.
I think these are supposed to open up tomorrow. But our city is a little bit different. Chattanooga is a little bit different. They kind of doing their own thing. But we broke the rules. We've been in Knoxville with Hannah's parents all week, and the kids are hanging out with the grandparents, and Hannah and I are getting our work done with less distractions, and it's been a good week.
I love grandparents, man.
Oh yeah. Well, they really missed them too. So, and this was the first thing we were going to do when, the travel ban, quote unquote, was lifted anyway. We were going to come up here and hang out with them anyway. So we just went ahead and came up. So it's all
nice.
good. But because of that, my switch to the shred track has been put off by a week because I left my gym at home. So we brought several things with us, actually. An obscene amount of things with us. We brought a lot of dumbbells and kettlebells and bands and all that kind of stuff with us to work out while we were here. But nothing like having the full gym. You know what I mean? So shred track has, unfortunately, quote unquote, been put off for a week.
Well, so what are you doing? Nothing?
Absolutely nothing. Bought all the stuff, moved it out of the car, and it's just set. No, I've been doing no gear this week. I added some gear to the no gear, but
hey, if you got the gear, you can add it to the no gear. Yeah, no problem.
Like all the running I had to do yesterday, I had a vest on the whole time, and
nice.
And I've been using the kettlebells and all that kind of stuff. But it's easier to scale. Well, not really scale, but adapt no gear by adding gear than it is to scale shred without having gear. Does that make sense? Like it's just easier to move up in no gear than it is to move down from shred. So,
got it. Well, cool. The bands are lightning, across the United States, which is great. Hopefully that doesn't cause any bigger issues, but let's get back after it if we can. Everyone who, life might be getting back to some form of normal. Updates for me. I've been slamming tart cherry juice ever since the last podcast. So I'm actually on like day 7 of taking it. I don't think I noticed anything different. We did talk a little bit before. I had a headache today, and the reason that's weird is because I don't ever get headaches. Like pretty much ever. It's very, very rare. And I have a headache. I had a headache today, a pretty bad one. So I don't know. It's the only thing I've changed. We'll see. If I get another headache, tart cherry juice is gone. But I haven't noticed any performance benefits. I'll let you guys know when I do some more training, because I'm throwing in Murph a little bit more on Meet Yourself Saturday, just with a looming potential world record attempt. If you guys didn't catch up on any of that, because it sounds like that dude, I don't even remember his name. He's going to be trying the world record down in Fort Bragg in May on Memorial Day, and I want him to set the record. I have no fear anymore. Like last time I talked about it, I don't think I sounded very confident, because I just didn't really know what he's capable of, and now I'm just like unfazed. I'm not scared. Like, I think I can do it. I think if he sets the legitimate world record, I will immediately contact Guinness and be like, hey, let's set up our date for the fall. And I'll be doing a lot more Murphs. Anyway, that's that update, cherry juice update. And then book. It looks official. I think I gave it 95% last time. 19 May is going to be the drop date of the book. The only thing that could change that, I have like hundreds of books coming to my house right now, because I want to sign a bunch of copies and send them to people in the community, and you guys will hear more about those opportunities too. But unless for some reason these copies all turned out like trash, but I've already got the first copies and they were fine. But if for some reason the mass production ruined it, and that's just my like what could go wrong here, that it would delay it. But right now everything is tracking for 19 May. That's a Tuesday, officially launching the book, and probably launching the audio book on Audible the next week on Tuesday. So about a week gap there. And that is it. Killing Comfort book is coming. If you guys want to get notified about it or whatever, if you're already on 5 Line Friday, don't worry about it. You'll hear about it. If you want to make sure you're on all that, go to killingcomfort.com and you can enter in your name and email address, and I'll make sure that you're notified of when the book comes out and all the cool bonuses and everything else we're doing during the launch.
You'll just send us all the trash copies, right?
If that were to happen, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yes. That's what you guys get.
Yes.
What were you saying, Ashley?
How much tart cherry juice are you intaking? Like, do you remember we were talking about 8 to 12 ounces a day? Is that how much you're taking every day?
So Joe got some too, and he is taking tart cherry juice from concentrate. I'm taking tart cherry juice concentrate. So just the actual concentrate.
Okay.
And in the study, they said you could take either. So I'm only taking 30 milliliters at a time, which is like 2 tablespoons. Mm-hmm. And I take it 1 to 2 times per day. The study was doing twice per day, but I'm not really testing anything. So it's like,
yeah,
I'm going to take all this tart cherry juice in, but I want to do Murph this weekend and just see how I feel, and especially how I feel after. If everything feels great, like maybe there's something to it. So this one was just too easy not to test. That's the reason I'm doing it. Like, we talk about some of these things, and like we'd maybe have to alter our training program or like do something crazy or buy something really expensive. This one was like, it was like $20 for a month's supply of tart cherry juice, maybe even more, and a longer supply. I mean, I'm like, why not? I'll just try it out, see what happens. So
nice.
I'll keep you guys updated. All right, this week we are hopping into the study, which is basically about range of motion. The name of the study is Effects of Range of Motion on Muscle Development During Resistance Training Interventions, a Systematic Review. So I really like the reviews, as you guys know, just because they look at a bunch of different studies and try to see what the scientific consensus is on a particular topic. This time it had to do with range of motion and muscle growth, like how much, what's the best for gains, really? Like what can you stand to benefit from with different range of motion protocols? Because we all hear, you should have full range of motion on almost any movement, but is that the truth? And that's kind of what they were looking at. So they identified 1,396 potential studies, 6 of which met their inclusion criteria. That blows my mind. So they were like,
unreal.
1,390, they were like, nope, no good. And so 5 of the studies used untrained participants, while 1 used trained subjects. 4 examined lower body hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, while 2 examined upper body hypertrophy. The average study duration was 10.5 weeks, and 135 total subjects, 127 men, 8 women, were included in the 6 studies. So that is the study. Now I'm just going to talk briefly about the results and then want to hear what you guys have to say. the actual result conclusion type thing from the study was almost inconclusive. They were like, we need to study this more. This wasn't real clear. But I just wanted to look at the actual breakdowns. And so they have each study broken down, what the range of motion was compared, like what are they, was it elbow flexion? Was it more legs? Was it triceps? Things like that. And then they put in okay, if you had a longer or full range of motion, how much muscle growth could you get? And then if you had a shorter range of motion, what was the muscle growth you could get? And what I found interesting was longer range of motion won out almost every single time. But that's not a huge surprise to me. So go through your full range of motion if you're going to be doing an exercise. But the shorter range of motion wasn't that far off, almost in any category. And it actually blew one category out of the water. But I'll talk more about that in a minute. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So Ashley, what were your thoughts on this study?
So for this study, what I took away from it was that obviously your range of motion, your full range of motion, and I'll probably just refer to squatting if I'm going to talk about obviously they did multiple tests on different movements, but when I think of this, I'm thinking about a squat because that's just where my mind goes. It can increase your muscle growth, right? So they said that. The thing that I would take away from this is to be careful if you haven't, let's say you've only been able to squat to parallel. Like for example, my husband had a knee surgery, so Scott cannot squat really below parallel or his knee will just get super inflamed, and he knows that, right? So he knows he can get to parallel and that's it. So I would say work with just your body weight if you want to get below to parallel, kind of feel that way. If you wanted to build muscle growth and then, use weights to do the full range of motion. But the thing that I was more wanted to kind of compare and contrast is they also talked about tension. He talked about the constant tension, and it makes me want to look at a study of the tension on your muscles versus the full range of motion. One of the things that was quite interesting to me is, if a full range of motion, if you're doing a bicep curl, for example, you're holding a weight, it's all the way down, your bicep is all the way, flexed out. But is that what builds your bicep, or is it when you come up and you are, flexing and in that kind of tension? So that's kind of what I took away from the study is I kind of wanted to see the two, was it just the full range of motion, or was it, the constant tension that you're also putting on your muscles while you work out?
So my guess to that question would be, so it goes to time under tension. And this is where, one of my takeaways from the study was learn how to use your muscles and not just worried about range of motion, because what you're talking about, if I were to do a bicep curl, up and down are both going to help the muscle growth. But the down, if I just kind of fully stretch out my arm, and you could do this, you could do this test with a dumbbell outside or whatever, but you could be fully stretched out, arm kind of locked out, and have no tension, no real tension in your bicep. Right. And you could do the same in a squat. You can get in the very bottom of a squat and then just kind of chill. You can, if you have pretty good range of motion, you could just kind of chill in the bottom of the squat. You could disengage a little bit with your muscles and even, loosen up your core. All these things are bad, by the way. You shouldn't do those things when you're squatting, but you can. And I think if you're doing stuff like that, you're going through the motions, you're not seeing the results. But if you're if you want to grow your bicep, you should be focusing, you should be kind of looking for pain. You should be looking for that muscle burn. So that slow contraction and then that release outward, until you feel like you don't need to go any further. You don't want to release the tension on that bicep and then come back up. And I had a friend, still a friend, he is just ripped, super jacked. And he always has been. We trained together in high school, and he's just always been that way. He's a phenomenal athlete. He does partial range of motions on basically everything, and he always has. And I used to give him crap about it, but he was way bigger than me. I was always messing with him, but he never really did full range of motion on anything, because he just wanted that muscle burn. So that's one. He's the only person I've ever met like that. So that's an anecdotal one person I know, but yeah, I think that time under tension is very, very important. Kyle, what were your takeaways, man?
It's pretty similar to what you guys were talking about with but it talks a lot about isolation exercise, and it kind of made me think of bodybuilders. Bodybuilders, they have a whole lot of hypertrophy. That's basically all they ever work on is hypertrophy, is building muscle. And when you watch bodybuilders train, they rarely do a full range of motion, or most of the time, most of the movements that they do it in some kind of partial range of motion. And this kind of made me think of that it's probably why they're able, which it's not the only reason why you factor in like supplements and things like that in their diet and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, they don't go all the way down on a bicep curl. They don't go all the way down on tricep extensions. They don't go all the way down on all of these different things. And I feel it's because of this. It's because they want to keep that muscle under tension for every rep instead of releasing. They don't release the tension until the set is over. So, however many reps they're doing, they're keeping to us, they look like half reps, but really it's intentional reps. You know what I mean? They're just trying to keep the muscle under tension the entire time until the set is over. Not saying that everyone needs to go start training like bodybuilders. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that kind of made this make sense, a little bit more sense to me. And also it just made me think of the issues that I've had with range of motion, especially like with squatting. Actually last week I was doing some squatting and my ankles felt really tight. And so actually for the first time ever, I tried the heel plate technique, putting a plate under the heel, like we talked about in the gear episode a few weeks ago. And man, it was unbelievable. It was night and day difference. It was so much easier. Like I could get down like there was nothing wrong. Actually, it felt almost better than it does normally. For whatever reason, my ankles were tighter that day than normal. And so I just tried it out. And man, I could get up and down like crazy, And so, it just showed me range of motion really does make a difference. But this is kind of what it was talking about was, can range of motion improve or increase muscle gain? And that's kind of what it brought up to me was how bodybuilders train. And it's the same thing that you were saying with your buddy. It's like, I've seen other guys doing that as well in the gym. And it's like, why are you not going all the way down? What's wrong with you? It's like, okay, you did half a set, can you go back and do the other half? And it's like, no, they're just doing it very intentionally.
Yeah. And I think when you're talking about muscle growth, if you want to be, that goes along with strength to some degree. Like you can get stronger without necessarily having to gain a ton of muscle, but I would say they go somewhat hand in hand. But when you look at the actual numbers, they're not far off. Like to me, there's not a right and wrong here. I prefer people to go full range of motion because I think repeated lack of going through that full range of motion is going to limit or hinder your mobility later on. That's the big reason I think that people should go through a full range of motion with really good form. But if you have a knee problem or whatever, and you're going not as far down on, like, say, a squat, we're talking about in this specific study, like 1% and 2% differences between the person who's going all the way down and the person who's not. And so I think that's really interesting because you could look at this study and just pull the data and be like, they were kind of inconclusive, but if you just look at the numbers, you'd be like, okay, well, it looks like full range of motion is better. So full range of motion wins. And it's like, well, I mean, to me, those are marginal differences. And that's kind of, I think, why it was hard for them to draw some conclusions. But I think, you need to know why you're doing it. There's only your goals in this equation, because we see people get, post a video and someone's like, you didn't go low enough on the squat. And while we have standards for like getting a PR shirt or whatever, and if you're in a competition, and you're doing push-ups, you need to lock out your elbows because everyone needs to be held to some sort of standard. But if you're not being held to any standard for anything, you do whatever you want. Like it doesn't really matter. If you're not worried about limiting or hindering your mobility, then do whatever, and know that it's not going to really affect your gains all that much either. I think people need to know their goals and not necessarily think like, hey, you have to do it because I was told that once. And one thing I did want to say about the triceps, that was the only one that was like I don't know if you guys saw that, but like
the 45 versus 90
triceps specifically, if you do full range of motion, it was like 28% plus or minus 10%, about 11%. But the shorter range of motion was 48.7% plus or minus 14.5%. So significantly better on the triceps, if this was just a tricep exercise, to go shorter range of motion. And I think it has to do with the time under tension thing that we were talking about, and that you kind of alluded to, Kyle and Ashley. Like, I think that's really important. And that was one of the conclusions, right? Accessory movements, it seems to be a little bit more important than anything else. But the last study I wanted to bring up that was kind of in conjunction with this, because this is a brand new study they did, the first time ever they did it in humans, where they had people in Japan, weightlifters, eat a certain amount of protein throughout the day. It wasn't a lot of protein, but they tried different things where like they had like an extremely high protein meal at night, and then other times during the day they'd have lower amounts of protein, or they'd have equal amounts of protein every single day or every single meal to kind of get, it more spaced out appropriately. And they wanted to see, what was the best for muscle growth. So kind of same category. And it was really interesting because you need a certain amount of protein to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. We've talked about these things before, but ultimately having equal amounts of protein throughout the day, like that was the study conclusion. But the difference when you actually look at the data was like this. It was fractions of percents. It was like 1% and 2% difference, 3% different, 4% different. And I'm like, okay, so all you're really telling me here is it doesn't matter that much. You just need to get enough protein throughout the day. People argue about this all the time, but they're arguing over 2% difference in a lot of cases, or 3% difference. So just my main takeaway for all this that I'm rambling on about is just know your goals and what you're trying to do, and only adhere to those standards. If you're going to compete or you're trying to be a bodybuilder or whatever, yeah, you might want to like take into these 1 or 2% things into account, but ultimately just know what you want to do and how you want to execute it for your training. All right. You guys ready to talk about some deload? This was actually from the Facebook group question. Kyle, you said like, what'd you say? What do you guys want us to cover on the podcast or something?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was what are some topic ideas you would like to see covered on the podcast? And
your question of the week this week was kind of ridiculous. Not a ridiculous question. The response is, so Kyle asked, what was it like? What are some weird food combinations?
So the question is, what's a weird food combination that you like that other people think is gross?
Yeah. And like Emily had to stop reading at one point because she thought it was getting so disgusting. I'm now judging people, in the group. I'm just kidding. But there were some interesting combinations. I would have never, some of them, they weren't weird at all. Like I think someone said peanut butter and bananas. I was like, what?
That one, I know who you're talking about on that. And I told him he had to pick something else because that's not weird enough.
But then some of it got weird. I think it was like, didn't someone say they mix like almond butter and eggs together? I'm like,
something like that. Yeah.
Dang.
That wasn't the worst one. That wasn't the worst. I don't want to say what I thought it was, but
why not? You don't because you don't want the world to know that you think something's weird that might be normal. That's it. You're not gonna tell us.
No, all right. I'm not.
Okay. All right. So anyway, the other question you did ask was, what topics could we cover? So we've added some of those to AMA. Some of them are going to be covered in studies in the future. But one, I just thought, if you're asking more about our training in general, which there were a good amount of those questions, I figured we could kind of cover some of those in the topics section of how we do the podcast. And we had someone ask like, what's the, talk a little bit more about this deload active recovery stuff and like why you guys do it, because it's kind of a common thing to deload in like heavy strength training world. Like it's a little bit more known, but a lot of people walk into our training not coming from that background and they're like, what the hell is a deload and why are we doing it? So I would love to, especially people who that's their first week in the program, when they come into a deload week and they're like, I'm super confused. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on deload week, and I can kind of talk about big picture, like what we do. But Ashley, what are your thoughts on deloading and active recovery?
So deload for, I think all of us, we can obviously say that if you continue to do a non-deload program, so if you never take into account and step back and do less percentage or potentially even less reps and take it back, you could do harm in the long run, right? And so what we're here to do is we're looking out for you for, not just the cycle and not just the here and the right now, but obviously in the long run as well. We want you to be able to continue to work out later on, right? And how I view deload week, sometimes people talk about deload as, man, I thought it was supposed to be easier. deload is not necessarily easier. Sometimes I am more sore on deload weeks than I am on the normal weeks. And sometimes it's, we're maybe doing less weight, but higher reps, or, maybe we're just doing stuff that we haven't, done, but it is not as taxing on our bodies as it was. You still have to view it as a workout. You still have to view it as training and still get after it. But it's just a week that your body can kind of, take a little bit of a break. And then the one thing I would suggest to people on deload week, Jared, you talked about it last week, and I think it is a great point. If you are feeling beat up and you have to deload the weight that's on deload week, like let's say we give you a certain percentage and you're like, I can't do this, take it back. That's the whole point of deload week, is for you to kind of recover, let your body kind of recover from what we've just been doing for these past 3 weeks, which may have, taxed your body significantly. So that is a huge takeaway for me on deload weeks. And then, just be smart about it and still get after deload week, even though, people call it an easy week. It should not still be an easy week. You should still get after it. So,
yeah, I don't hear many people call it an easy week. Most often it's complaints about it not being
right.
easy. Kyle, what are some of your thoughts on this?
So something that I think a lot of people aren't really familiar with is your central nervous system. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we do deload weeks, is because our training is so taxing on your central nervous system, especially if you're doing something like strength track and you're, working up and up, or with the hard to kill track, you're blending the two so much that you're going to need a week for your central nervous system to catch up. And that's not something that we're like super consciously aware of. It's just kind of there. But if your central nervous system is out of whack, you are out of whack. I mean, it controls you. And so doing a deload week every 4 weeks, the way that we do it, I mean, your CNS is really going to thank you. And you're going to be, like Ashley was saying, you're going to have better longevity as far as training goes. And it's like you said, Jared, this is something that people who exercise or compete athletically for a living, like they all do this. You know what I mean? All of them do. I mean, it's something that everybody does. And even like with strongmen or power lifters or weightlifters, like when they're coming up to a competition, they always have a taper off week before competition. Like they're working really hard up until competition, and then they taper off right before they really need to perform. And it's something that we have to do just to keep our bodies in competition mode, or just in life mode for most of us garage gym athletes, where we're not competing in a whole lot of things. But it's not just that we have a deload week every week or every 4 weeks. It's that we have the EO3 elements every day. That's part of that as well. It's not just deload, it's active recovery. We throw active recovery days every single week. And you need to be taking advantage of those. Don't just, if you're super beat up, take it off. Don't do it. Don't do anything that day. But something that I've found over the last few weeks is I've just been, and we've been reporting in our team meetings too of how many sessions we get every week. I've been trying to hit 7 every single week, and I've been hitting it, more than I used to. But what I found is doing something every day actually helps me every day. It doesn't, doing something even on my active recovery days or my rest days, actually helps me on the other days that I train as well. And so just being intentional about your recovery is extremely important to being able to perform and being able to compete or whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so it's not a break. It is a break, but it's not just veg out and be lazy and do nothing. This is very intentional. It's just kind of like what we're talked about with the zone 2 stuff. It's not like zone 2 Murph. It's not lazy Murph. It's intentional Murph. It's like there's a specific purpose to it. So I feel the same way about deload and active recovery. Like there's a purpose behind it. And if you skip it, it's going to hurt you in the long run. So.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people don't look at training that way, or just in general. Like I love physical activity. So it's more on me to not do something is harder for me than, like taking a full day off, it's just kind of hard. Like it happens to me frequently, and it normally life related or something, but I would have always preferred to move. Now I'm not going hard on those days. So Garage Gym Athlete, we have 4 programmed days that are typically, programmed to move you forward. There's a Meet Yourself Saturday that's optional. But those other 2 days, like, what am I doing? Because I'm typically doing Meet Yourself Saturday and the 4 program days. It's something light, it's zone 2 maybe. And I say zone 2, but I'm not even like measuring my heart rate most of the time. Like I'll go for a bike ride, or I'll do something like that. But it'll be an hour-long bike ride. It's not like this 10 or 15-minute thing. I'll go for an hour-long ride, and it doesn't affect me in any way. And for most people, I think that's the same. Once you get out of this mentality of like, if you don't enjoy fitness, I could see like you're trying to get away with the minimal effective dose. You're like, what can I get away with? Is it 3 days a week? Perfect. I want to do 3, and then I want to do nothing every other day. And there are a lot of people who have that kind of mindset, but you can do stuff every single day. Now, why do we deload? There's really 3 reasons. 2 of them are the types of deload. The first one is a volume deload. So if we've been going really high volume on a track, just meaning lots of sets and reps with a barbell, we'll just cut that volume typically around in half. And so we'll do a volume deload. And then sometimes it's not a volume deload, it's an intensity deload. And that is more of what we did. And that's where people complain more, is when we do an intensity deload, because the volume didn't change that much, but we just dropped percentages. So it feels almost the same, but you're hitting much lower intensities on lifts and efforts. And so that's the other type. And those are more sparing of your CNS, like you were saying, Kyle, these intensity deloads. Now, the third reason I like to do it is kind of a mental, not related to like CNS mental, but like just this, I know I have to go hard for 3 weeks, and then I'm going to take a week, back off a week, and then I'm going to go hard for 3 weeks. Like that just kind of keeps you in the game a little bit more when you only have to push for a certain amount of time. Like I've always said that's why parenthood is so hard, because there is no end of the tunnel, right? It's like you need to try hard at being a parent every day, and for at least 18 years. And then after that, you're still a parent, but it's going to be very different, right? So that is, why I think parenthood is hard, but also fitness is the same way. Like I don't plan on really ever stopping. Like I always want to be training. There's no end to this. It's not like, after this End of 3 fitness thing is over, I think I'll probably I probably won't work out anymore. Like that's not in my plans. Like I want to work out until the day I die. And so I need to stay fresh and able to do that. And I need to take that deload week every 3 weeks. And, for the more serious athletes around Garage Gym Athlete, and I don't mean high level athletes, I mean committed athletes. Like I want them to stick around for 10 years or longer, doing the training and making sure it works for them and that they're going to be healthy and happy. I don't do any of this for the person who signed up and wants to be here for a month or one cycle. Like I'm glad to have you if that's what you wanted to do. If it wasn't for you and you want to move on, I get it. But my long game strategy is for the people who are super committed, and that's how my programming is, and that's what I'm taking into account. And I can even see their faces and know their names of the people I'm thinking about in the community. And so that's kind of why we do it. They're kind of the big 3 reasons right there. All right. Now, working out, not deload. You guys ready? Workout of the week. EO3 Iron Mile. Does anybody know it off the top of their head?
I do.
Go for it, Kyle.
Okay, this one is my favorite one. My favorite Meet Yourself Saturday. Always has been. It is as simple as it gets. You have a mile to walk, but the kicker is you have to have a barbell or something else that's really uncomfortable and made out of metal on your back for the entire mile.
It's basically a barbell or a yoke.
Yep.
You can't have a sandbag or a vest or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Something very, very uncomfortable. A barbell or a yoke. You pick the weight. And actually that's one of my tips is be careful about the weight, because it'll sneak up on you for a mile. And don't think that you're all big and bad or whatever. And, I'm going to do a whole bunch of weight. No, that weight's going to crush you. Probably literally. But anyway, yeah. Walk a mile with a barbell on your back. That's it.
Yeah. I would say I typically do like 135 if I'm just trying to do like a fun Meet Yourself Saturday Iron Mile. And it still sucks, but when I started doing it, I did body weight. So I did 185 and I was okay the first half mile. Like it wasn't that bad. I don't even think I set it down. I think I made it the half mile without setting down 185. But then I had to walk back. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, this is going to really suck. Not only does it suck because it's 185 pounds, I had to clean and press 185 pounds over my head every single time to get it back onto my back. And it was very close to the end, pretty much too heavy to do that anymore. Like I got it done, but my form was not looking great for, clean and jerk in the middle of the street. So yeah, it gets really dirty really fast. And I always tell people walk out the distance, turn around and come back, because that you're forced to meet yourself. Cause the only other option is to leave your barbell like in the grass somewhere and walk back and get your car. And if that happens to you, just think about, I want to know what's going on in your head as you're walking back to your car. Like, are you okay with what just happened? Like, are you okay with this, like this failure that you're embarking on? Now, if you went too heavy and you feel unsafe, okay, walk back to your car. But if you're just like, I don't feel like doing this, Jared's an idiot, this is a dumb workout, which is where I like for people to get, definitely make it back, make it that 800 meters back.
You're taking a risk on someone stealing your barbell at that point, though. At the same time.
True. I didn't even think about that.
Especially right now with everybody snapping up gym equipment.
It would go fast.
Yeah. So anyway, I would say Ashley is going to give you a musical suggestion for this one. I am going to tell you on this one, and maybe it's just because I love this one so much, I do no music at all. It is just me.
You want the mental
barbell in the
awesome.
street, man.
You're a masochist.
I love it.
And I love this one, man. It's just,
Kyle does it right, everyone. Kyle does it right.
I'm taking away my Metallica recommendation. Don't do Metallica for this one. Just you and the barbell and the street, and that's it. And I would say my biggest struggle with this one is not really the weight. It's not really the walk. It's the blood flow to my hands. And so holding that barbell up there is tough, and your hands get to tingling and you're trying to shake them out, and you got to hold it with one arm, and shake out the other one and all that. So
have you ever tried stretching your arms across the barbell?
Yep. And that works for about 30 seconds. And that hurts.
That normally works for me. Like if you guys can't see what I'm talking, I'm like reaching my arms out all the way, and I'm kind of holding the plates, the 45-pound plates with my hands. And
that's probably my range of motion limitations, though. That's hurting more than anything.
Yeah, you don't want to cramp up in that position. That would be
that's not a good
bad
position to cramp up in. Yeah.
Ashley, what do you have?
Well, Kyle poo-pooed on one of mine, and then you stole my other. So
I'm sorry, I didn't read the.
It's fine.
Prep. I'm sorry, that's my bad.
I would say I put on my rock playlist for this, and I just kind of mentally go somewhere else. I bet you go faster than Kyle because of it, though. We'll see. I don't know, but I'm probably
that's not
doing.
happening now.
We'll have a test on this, but I'm doing less weight than Kyle. I don't think I could do my body weight. If I could put 145 pounds on my back and walk it for a mile, I don't know. I would get like you, Jared. I don't think I could clean and jerk that, because that's about 10 pounds away from my max.
Well, it comes down to like, what do you have time for? Because if I do 135, this workout's not super long, but that day, like I said, I made it out there, but then I don't know, I had to set it down like 15 times on the way back. And I was like, I need to go. Like I have other things to do today. Like I can't just be doing this workout. I mean, I finished it, but it depends on how much time you have. How heavy you want to go.
Take 2 hours on this. Yeah. So choose the weight wisely, and then pick a good mix, or don't do a good mix, whatever you want. And then that was my suggestion, is you move your hands. Because again, mine is not necessarily the weight on my back. It is exactly what Kyle said. Like if I hold the barbell with like normal grip, I guess, my hands go tingly. So then I go over and I just do that as well. And then I come back in slowly, move it again, kind of shuffle. So, just get down and back as fast as you can. You'll thank yourself later.
It's very interesting. For me, it's 100% the weight on my back that hurts. Like I'm sure that I've come across the tingling thing, but tingling is not pain. Is it painful?
It's not painful. It's just like your hands are going numb.
It's like scary.
It is kind of scary. And I mean, for us, like I don't know. I'm not speaking for you, Kyle, but I'm only doing maybe 95 pounds. So maybe it would be more of a weight issue if I went a little heavier.
Well, at the same time, if your hands go numb, how are you going to hold the bar?
Yeah,
I mean, just balance it on your traps while you're walking, So if you can't feel the bar with your hands, then you're in a pretty sticky situation.
No, that's a real thing. I wrote an article about it. It's on the podcast. Like when I did that 100-mile bike race the very first time, and I basically hadn't ridden a bike since I was a kid, like in middle school, for any serious length of time. Anyway, I did that 100-mile bike race. And I didn't know there was legitimately a thing called handlebar palsy. And I lost the use of my left hand, like altogether lost it. And it doesn't come back like, a day later. Everyone thought I was going to say hour. It took several weeks to get the feeling all the way back in my hand. So when you start going down that road, you don't want to stay there. So do shake out your hands. Because I was ignoring it like you guys were. I was like, yeah, whatever, some tingliness in my hand or whatever, just keep riding or whatever. 8 hours later, I can't use the arm anymore. So it's not something you want to mess with. All right, that is it. We are going to get out of here. I do want to say, if you guys are enjoying the podcast, want to try the training out and, experience the deload weeks, experience the Iron Mile and what we have, 8 different training tracks now. Go ahead and go to Garage Gym Athlete, sign up for a free trial. We'd love to have you try things out, whether you are that long-term athlete or you do just want to stick around for a cycle and see if it's something you want to be a part of. Just know I'm programming for the person who's in it for the long haul and want to make sure they see results for a very long time. That's my goal and everything that I'm doing from a programming standpoint. And we have this amazing, coaching crew that's here right now on the podcast that does an amazing job helping take care of the athletes. We just have a really good team, really awesome community, and would love for you guys to be a part of it. And don't forget that Killing Comfort book is right around the corner. So go to killingcomfort.com, sign up to be notified when it comes out. But that is it. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.